Hello everyone, welcome to the Lore Council. It is Cade today, and I'm joined along with Keith.
Hello.
And joining us once again, as he does from time to time, usually only when there's a big TV show that is interesting, Tristan.
I am here on occasion.
I have to ask before we get started. The Legacy review.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's
Yes.
like the Winds of Winter novel. It's on the way.
I put out podcasts the same rate as George R.R. Martin puts out books.
All right.
Yes, I'm sure the masses are clamoring for the Legacy Part 5 review.
Hey, there are at least 5 people who really want that.
If I be generous.
Well, 2 of them are here.
Shit.
But no, obviously, as you can tell by the title, and funny jokes about our inability to record podcasts aside, we're here today to talk about WandaVision. It wrapped up about 2 weeks ago, I think, actually, to the day. So we, as always, are a little bit tardy. We had a couple of things come up, mostly my fault, all my fault, that delayed the recording of this episode. And, yeah, I guess as far as spoiler-free thoughts on it, I really, really liked the whole thing. Like, as a series, it was really, really good. The acting, writing, directing, and everything was all, like, superb, and I think, like, probably a little bit better, well, no, a lot better, rather, than the average, like, Marvel movie. So.
I thought it was a pretty unique take on Marvel. I'm glad that since the Joker, just to wrap it up generally, that comic book movies are starting to branch out into different genres, and that was the most exciting thing about this series for me. And that's why I wanted to see it more than anything else that Marvel's announced, because they're sort of breaking the mold and kind of drawing away from the formula until the end of it. But for the most part, it's throwing Marvel characters in different situations and different genres and seeing how they work, and it really lends itself well because it's a pretty expansive universe you could do anything in. I mean, for God's sakes, there's like horror zombie comic books out there for Marvel, so sitcom's not a stretch.
Yeah, that's true. Keith, what were your overall spoiler-free thoughts on it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Pretty much all the way through. I was fine with most of the plot developments. Nothing really bothered me too much. I liked, I like getting to see all the, the character interaction. We get just a lot more character stuff than we would have gotten from, Vision or Wanda, in any of the movies. Because, like, this show is, like, the most we've seen of their, their inner personalities, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to bring up, because obviously in the movies, like, their, like, kind of romance is kind of, like, rushed to me. Like, it
happens off screen.
Yeah, it literally all just happens off screen, and then, when you go from Civil War to seeing them in Infinity War, it's like, oh, by the way, we're, like, totally in love now.
The only indication that you get that they're a couple is that they're staying together in Civil War, and it's never really touched on, even though they're 2 of the most interesting characters in the cast.
Yeah.
Yet neither one of them have a movie.
Yeah, like, we just see, like, Vision saving Wanda at the end of Ultron, and then Infinity War they're together.
Yeah, that's and then they have, like,
the stuff that happened in Civil War, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, like, they have lots of conversations, and then she, like, shoots him down, like, 1,000 levels in the tower, so.
That's when he knew.
When he got shot down through many, many layers of concrete, that's when he knew.
He's the one, this one.
That's when most of us know. So, but no. So you've had your spoiler warning. That was our spoiler-free thoughts. All of, 5 minutes into it. So now we're going to jump in. So spoiler warning, you have been warned. So episode 1 obviously is... takes place in the 50s. It's in a black and white setting, in their town and everything. This episode I didn't really like that much. I get it that, like, some of the shows are gonna have, like, a bit more of a, like, like a slower start to them. But overall, I don't like the 50s. I don't like the setting of the 50s. I don't like the aesthetic of the 50s. And yeah, it's obviously serves to set up the rest of the series. So
I disagree because I love the 50s and everything about it. It's including the sexism. The aesthetic of the 70s, the 50s is.
We'll
really
get to the 70s. Don't worry.
Oh yes, indeed, we do agree there. But I really like the 50s. I like the style of the comedy. It wasn't particularly funny for me. Like I kind of chuckled or like blew hot air out of my nostrils. But
yeah, and I think kind of the thing, not to cut you off, but like the kind of the thing is that like now, if you go back now and watch like a sitcom from like the 50s, they're not funny. Like they suck because they obviously had to be like super family friendly, like super clean cut. Like I think there was one, I think it was like I Love Lucy or something. Like the husband and wife could not sleep in the same bed. So like
the FCC or something like that.
Yeah, they
actually had
that role
in WandaVision.
Yeah. So it was yeah, and I think kind of the joke is that like 50s sitcoms aren't funny anymore, so I can kind of vibe with that. And yeah, it is like a very like more like cheesy kind of comedy as well.
I think they could be funny. I enjoyed it. I love the I love 50s aesthetic. I was instantly hooked on the whole thing. They're just doing this whole big production, totally like recreating like, the aesthetic of I Love Lucy and just like parodying it and everything. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. They just did a really, really good job. But yeah, not all the jokes land. I don't think they really need to, in order for the show to work. You're kind of just like, watching, wondering what's really going on here, and kind of like, that's really what that episode kind of serves as.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny that like they obviously like are spending the entire episode like struggling to like hide their like powers. But then Vision saves his boss by using his powers.
Yeah, this episode it's like miso soup. It's not that good. You like it for the novelty of it. It's like, ooh, it's Japanese, so therefore I have to eat it.
No, I'm sorry.
I
hate miso soup.
I don't know. I really enjoyed the Stark toaster ad.
Oh yeah,
and it was like a subtle reference to the bomb in their house or whatever.
Even a woman can do it.
Boy, this technology sure is complicated. Don't worry, they made it easy enough for a woman to use.
Yeah.
All the commercials in these episodes I loved.
Oh yeah, they're all the commercials. Yeah, they're just great. And I love obviously they're all like references to obviously, stuff that has happened like throughout kind of like Wanda's past and everything. So yeah, they all work
like,
really well.
What's happening in that episode?
Hell yeah, metaphors.
Yeah, bombs, toasters, the Toastmate 2000. Oh, and obviously Agnes is introduced as well as like a nosy neighbor, like the nosy neighbor archetype from a lot of sitcoms.
Yeah, she just fits right in there.
Yep.
Great actress.
I'm not a fan.
The character is a great actress.
Oh,
I
yes.
I enjoy her in everything, but I did enjoy her in this. The thing I can remember her from was like Step Brothers, and she was really annoying.
Oh my god, I think that's literally it. That makes me dislike. I can't off the top of my head. I can't remember the actress's name, but like, yeah, I just like something about her. Like, just like, I think it's the way she speaks is kind of grating a little bit to me. Like,
kind of nasally a bit.
Like kind of nasally and it could be just because like in everything she's in, she's always a little bit condescending.
Maybe.
Or in obviously Step Brothers, she's a disgusting like hornball.
I know. I liked it. They had her reading through the this like cheesy, like probably like a Cosmopolitan magazine from the 50s. Reading through like a 10 ways to please your man or whatever.
Oh yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, I also love the whole thing of like at Vision's work. He's what do we do? We're a computation company.
You see, we make the forms and then we send them out and then something. The forms are for our input and output. Yeah, that was neat.
Oh, she's actually Doc Ock in Spider-Verse.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Who?
Agatha.
Agnes lady?
Kevin. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I did not know that. So this is not her first Marvel role. That's really cool. So yeah, any other kind of thoughts on episode 1?
Good setup. Like it more than for the novelty than anything.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But definitely not an episode that I.
Yeah. I've watched it I watched it 3 times, so.
Oh
I
yeah, that's something we
definitely
should have mentioned, because obviously Keith, you and I were talking in yesterday, and you had mentioned that you've watched it, more than once. Tristan, have you watched any of this more than once? Because I've only watched everything once.
I've watched everything once as well.
Okay.
That's just me, I guess. I just really liked it.
Oh, one other thing I did want to mention is that the effects are really cute, and I really love them.
Yeah, no, I really like how that's something they integrated really well in all the episodes. Obviously, they're more like kind of apparent and like, up until I think the like the 6th episode, when obviously they're in like a more modern time setting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like for the first 5 episodes, well, obviously 4 not so much, but 1, 2, 3, 5, when they're in the separate eras, it's really cool that like they kind of make the effects look like, kind of like those cheesy kind of like TV effects from like
technology of the era.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they have her like levitating plates, and you can see they're on strings.
Yeah, I think that worked like best in the next episode, in 2, which I think would be a good segue here, obviously, to 2. And this one is obviously in a 60s setting. I'm not sure what sitcom they're spoofing, because I'm not familiar. Bewitched? Okay, that's kind of what I figured. Also, funny, because, well, obviously up until, later in the series, they never call her Scarlet Witch and everything, because I don't think before this they could, because of the whole Fox owning the rights thing. So I think that's why it took them so long to like get to the point of actually calling her that in the show. But we can.
It's okay. YouTube Marvel videos told me that she was the Scarlet Witch.
Just random segue. I really like the ending theme music for the episodes.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And that whole little theme segment where it has like all the little tiles, the little colored tiles.
Mm-hmm.
And then in each episode after that first theme, it'll have a little extra theme, and it'll be different depending on like the time period.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and also
just
episode,
you have a little like 50s sitcom like jingle.
Yeah, I was gonna say like all the themes were all really nice, and the soundtrack I think overall was very nice. Like it's very like light and happy and skippy when it needs to be, and when it needs to be like dark dour, it works very well. So kudos to whoever in general wrote the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Cool. So anyways, in the 60s setting, which is a parody of Bewitched apparently, it kind of starts off in like Wanda and Vision are hearing like these like noises outside of their house, and obviously it's just a tree. And they end up spending the next day kind of just like getting ready for like they're having like a talent show, and they're going to do like a magic act. And
because they're trying to get in good with the school board or whatever.
Well, just with like the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So
you got the gossipy white moms like in Edward Scissorhands. You got to please and make happy.
Yep. Yeah. So it's kind of like a Mean Girls kind of thing, I guess, for a better, more like comparison, I guess. Like
that's
where everyone's
yeah,
like where everyone's like they're all kind of catty towards each other,
or like the Stepford Wives or something.
Oh yeah. But no, it all works really well, and then obviously during that point when Wanda is with everyone, and then Geraldine, who definitely won't be important later, no,
not at all.
Yeah, no, they notice like a toy helicopter that's all in color. And obviously at this point they're still in black and white, and then a voice on the radio which is speaking to them as well. Wanda. And as well as I think there's blood in this episode that's also red, yes?
Oh yeah, the lady like
she smashes a glass in her hand. Yep, okay, that's what I thought.
Which never would have passed in the 60s.
No, God, no, not a chance.
Blood on TV?
No. Yeah, and then Vision he goes to like a neighborhood watch meeting, and he accidentally swallows some gum, which then you get like a nice little kind of like quirky little like internal view of Vision, where it's like obviously Vision is like this super complicated like android, and they have him basically just like it just shows like his little like cogs, and it's literally like 3 cogs, and that's supposedly what's running his body, and they're all gummed up.
Synthezoid is made out of 3 gears.
Yeah. But no, so then that kind of like it makes him seem like he's like off, like he's kind of like drunk. So
I think my favorite part was when he's like, "Noam here is a communist," and everybody just starts laughing their asses off.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, this one in my opinion was a much better. I really enjoyed this episode a lot more than the first one. So
I did enjoy it more than the first one. I will say that.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I didn't realize that it had like time shifted to the 60s. I just thought it was weird that Wanda was suddenly wearing pants. I was like, why is she wearing pants if this is the 50s? And then later I realized.
Oh yeah,
style changes.
Yeah, see, I kind of could tell because it's a different like shade of black and white. If I don't know if that's just me, but like I could tell because like the 50s is like it's a little more desaturated, and then it's like a little bit sharper when they're in the 60s.
Sure, yeah, probably. They did have very good close attention to detail with the doing the black and white. It's very well done.
It's like a contrast thing.
Yeah, and I think that's
colors or darker blacks rather.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so then
I also just like we didn't mention the whole like it's being shot in like a 4:3 aspect with the sidebars.
Oh yeah.
The aspect ratio is really nice too.
Yeah, but that just for that extra layer of authenticity, it's really nice.
Yeah, that is like a small thing that I don't think like a lot of shows really do if they have like a flashback to like like the 50s, 60s or anything. They just usually keep the same aspect ratio. So yeah, that is really cool that they, put that in as well. But obviously, they end up, it's kind of like just hijinks that you would get on like a 60s sitcom. Like, whoa, Vision's all messed up. How are they going to do their thing? What hijinks? So yeah, Vision is kind of like, obviously, like, when it comes to like doing their little magic show, like he's like revealing his abilities. Like, whoa, he can lift up a piano, and then it's just like it's like a fun little thing where like Wanda's like then uses her abilities to like mask everything, and like, oh no, it's just magic tricks, and then gets the gum out of Vision as well.
She just like poofs everything, and there's like sparkles or whatever.
Yeah, and then like the piano's on like a pulley or whatever.
It's really creative how they decide to resolve the issues, and these 2 episodes are really creative in general, especially with the effects and situations.
Oh yeah, and it is nice that they're kind of also like, in a way, kind of like doing the whole they're superheroes, but they have to like hide their abilities, but it's in plain sight, which obviously is like a huge trope for every comic ever. So it's kind of nice that you get that as well.
It's also it's a nice return to form too, because we haven't had secret identities in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since like the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah, I think them having to like hide their powers is kind of like sort of like a reflex at first, because they're in like a strange new place and all that. They kind of it's like they're just like reflexively like hiding their powers.
They're trying to blend in.
Yeah, because like they're kind of just trying to have like that normal life together. So
yeah, but it's a nice return to form because I like to see. It's a trope, but secret identity is one of my favorite tropes in comic books. So I just like to see it again in the MCU.
Yeah, no,
Sure,
it is.
It's fun. It's fun getting to see, a Vision who can like, he can apparently change his appearance with his synthezoid powers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it works really well, and it's really fun. But then obviously, they go home, and then all of a sudden, Wanda is preggers, which is if you've taken health class in high school, that's not how it happens.
Lego my prego.
Whoa, I'm months pregnant. What? Oh,
Super fast.
You premaritally held hands. That's what'll happen.
Oh, and then they they get visited by the beekeeper from the sewers.
Well, not really visited, but he
Wanda's just like, no.
emerges from the sewers, and then it was kind of like, and I don't know, we can probably talk about this later, but the whole impact of like bad fan theories. I saw so many things on like social media, like on my little like Google thing, like the little Google stories that'll show up on your Google homepage. So many that are like, the beekeeper from WandaVision explained. Who is the beekeeper? Blah 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 blah. The beekeeper. The beekeeper. The
And then
beekeeper.
there was like a super simple explanation.
Yeah, no, and it's an explanation that works really well. Well, not really, because why the hell is there a beekeeper in the sewers?
Yeah, it's kind of mystery box stuff, but the way they the way they do it and the way they space it out, I was okay with it.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of mystery boxes in this show, and a lot of people were disappointed with them.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of just a thing in general that some idiots with a podcast should make a point about that, fan theories are getting out of hand.
So we should get on that.
Yeah, somebody. I don't know who.
I'm not like a Marvel comic book reader, so I didn't really have a lot of expectation going in. I had, probably just the expectation of the MCU.
Yeah, and I think that should have been a thing that we should have mentioned, but we can kind of go on a little segue here. But even as like I've been reading Marvel comics for a long time. I've watched all the MCU movies and everything, and like I did not want to go into this movie being like, oh, what's gonna happen? Well, this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and they're gonna bring in John Krasinski as Reed Richards, and Magneto's gonna show up, and Mephisto's gonna wipe Vision's ass or something. Like I didn't.
Just the kind of show you kind of just watch and kind of just let yourself just go along with the ride.
I'll say it was part of the appeal to theorize about it and be like, oh, okay, especially later with who's introduced and the sort of different ways you could go with things and like how they talk, how like the characters themselves, and this is just not even going off of the fan theories, but just how the characters interact, and them talking about like, who's doing this to you, Wanda? I mean, later we find out it's her doing everything, but
right,
it kind of can send you off in tangents and be like, okay, is Mephisto doing shit?
They were introducing little, like red herrings and like uncertainties and stuff that.
And it's part of the fun. And I wasn't disappointed with it because the main appeal for this show to me was just that it was something different. Mm-hmm. Not that if they're able to do weird shit with Mephisto or the X-Men, then they have the Doctor Strange movie to do that with. I was just glad to get a different genre and different take on things within the same setting.
Yeah,
Same.
I'll get into it later because obviously that's the end of this episode, and from here everything becomes in color, and it's now the 70s, and episode 3 is the 70s, this is honestly probably my favorite episode, just to like throw it out there. I really just like this episode. Like everything for me, this is when the show kind of like clicked. I loved the like aesthetic of the 70s. I love just like the plot and everything. Like it's really fun. Like you kind of get the stuff with Geraldine and everything, and it's just it works out really well, and kind of just like it moves things forwards very well. And I just really like this episode, and obviously 70s Vision. He's so fresh. He's got the drip.
This actually had one of my favorite scenes in the show where Wanda's singing the lullaby to the twins.
Oh yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah.
It's so quiet and it's so soft. Like there's no bombastic music. There's nothing that's typical of the MCU, but it's just her singing a song from her country to a child, and Monica's line about Ultron killed Pietro, or he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? And this show does character tension.
Just coming out of left field there with that Ultron reference.
Oh yeah, no. It worked because it's so different from everything else, and like you get hit with something that actually occurred in the MCU, and it really breaks everything and starts the tension going. And this has some of the best tension and character interaction of anything in the MCU, because it can really push it, and
there's time for it.
Yeah, you feel how like dense the room is during the scene where she fucks up and mentioned Ultron's name, and she's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, no, and then obviously like this starts off, and they have a doctor come in and basically just tell us and everyone that Wanda is pregnant and that everything's going to be fine, and he plans on leaving for a holiday.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun antics, especially with like Vision speed walking everywhere.
Oh, I'd love that about this episode as well. But yeah,
it's very much like the $6 Million Man.
I haven't seen it, so I will
Reference
take
I
your
don't get.
word. Yeah, I get the reference of like the $6 Million Man, but I've never seen the film. But
His super speed kind of looks like that. But I'm pretty sure.
okay, yeah, but
It's a nice cheesy little callback.
But yeah, and one of my favorite scenes, Tristan, you had mentioned yours, but I really love when Vision like walks the doctor out of their house, and Herb is like he's like trimming his hedges, but like he's cut through like their fence.
Oh yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah, at that time I was like, "What the hell is going on here? Is this like a freaking simulation or something like that? It's like a glitch in the simulation."
Yeah, that's kind of like when obviously you kind of it's like a kind of like a little like thing where like you can tell like, oh, like something is really weird, because obviously you figure out what it is later, but to this point you have no way of like even guessing. Well, I mean, I guess you could have guessed what it was, but
yeah, like to the audience, this could all be some fake dream world that Wanda has just created. Really,
yeah.
There's little references to like what's going on, like the doctor, he's trying to like leave on vacation. He's like, well, I guess I'm just not gonna be able to get away.
Yep.
Yeah, no, like nice little bits of like foreshadowing, and then obviously, from there we got Wanda and Vision. They're like setting up the nursery, and then they're debating what to name their kids. And this is just like a random side note. I don't like the names that they pick.
Oh, like they're the most like American names.
Well, it's not that. It's just I don't like the names Billy, nor do I like the name Tommy. So
I think it fits what they're trying to do. They're trying to fit into this like nice little American.
Yeah, like
home.
like 1970s. Yeah, like I get it. It's just that's just like a side note. I don't like that. But then also, at this point, Wanda becomes more pregnant, which again, this is supposed to take 9 months, not 9 hours. But no, then she, like, you go on from there, and she begins to have contractions, and this is also another thing I really liked about this episode, is that, like, while this is happening, like, her powers are getting, like, out of whack, obviously because she can't, like, concentrate, because she has to concentrate, on, pushing out two humans.
Right.
Which, as I have heard from my mother, is not a pleasant experience, so...
No, and her lives in her control in general because she's maintaining a very large area.
Large area of what?
Hexagon.
When she had the first baby, and then like just suddenly she just starts like screaming again in Vision's face. I thought that was really funny.
Oh yeah, like that was some really nice like slapstick kind of comedy. Like, whoa.
I really like the stork scene where she keeps trying to make the stork disappear.
Oh yeah, yep.
She had to, like, keep it secret from Geraldine or something.
I feel kind of I didn't know that was a stork until now. I don't know my birds. But no, that's funny. That's
babies. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was some kind of like exotic bird. I don't know what a stork looks like.
Well, now you do. And
never
now
seen like a cartoon or anything?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's good.
Seen any cartoon where a stork comes with the baby?
Well, I have, but like I don't know, like I've never seen a real stork.
Cade's retarded. Moving on.
Yeah, if they would have put like a goose or something, I would have got it, or like a chicken. But
geese don't deliver babies, Cade.
They do where I'm from. Damn it.
Yeah, storks, right? Pelican.
Oh, I would have got a pelican too if they would have put a pelican. I would have got that, or like a seagull.
No, it's too cold where Cade is, so Canadian geese deliver the babies.
It's true. Yeah, I don't even know like the habitat of a stork.
Shit, that I don't know. I just know that babies are brought by storks.
Apparently, they live in Westview.
Apparently.
Apparently.
But anyways, yeah, going on from there, she delivers twins, and then Geraldine obviously arrives and she helps her, and then back to outside, Vision, he walks in on like Agnes and Herb. They're like talking, and they talk about how Geraldine like she like just got to town, but she doesn't have like a home or family or anyone. So, whoa, how could that be? Everyone knows each other. She's weird.
Right. It's, okay, never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah, but then inside of, back inside the house, we get like we had talked about earlier, like the Wanda basically like interrogates her because Geraldine slips up and obviously mentions that Ultron killed Wanda's brother. So,
right. Well, really, she kind of suddenly, he has like a moment of saneness for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, she sort of breaks from the telepathy there, and has sort of like a reset where she becomes self-aware with everything's going on.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because of her powers or whatever she has that she was able to suddenly kind of just oop out of it.
Yeah.
Well, she was able to like break in later.
So yeah. No one does anything to her in that moment. She just kind of for a second is like, hey, kind of realizes for a second.
Yeah, and then obviously it's noticed that she's wearing a like necklace with a sword on it. So, but then when Vision comes back in, Geraldine is gone.
Oh,
whoa! Where did she go? But then we get a little scene at the end where Geraldine is like thrown out of like a red staticky wall and is there are some dudes with guns there.
Oh, and I love the song choice of the Cheer Up Sleepy Jean song. I don't know the name of it. That was really fun.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like I mentioned, like the soundtrack to the song, the soundtrack to the entire series was just really fun. So
yeah, even the songs they composed specifically for this.
Mm-hmm.
But episode 5.
Oh wait, Geraldine's actress, I like her. She was in the show Mad Men. She was really good in that. And that took place in the '60s, so she had experience playing someone in a period thing.
Oh,
period piece.
Oh, I like her too. What are your two thoughts on the whole outside the Hex subplot?
Oh, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I liked it. Obviously, that's a good segue here to episode 4, which takes place basically just outside of the Hex, and we get all like the stuff. Obviously, it opens up and it's Monica Rambeau, not Geraldine, and she like basically returns to life following the Thanos snap. Well, she returns after the Hulk snap. The blip. Well, I refuse to call it that. So,
God, the blip.
After well, okay, that's the dumb question. Is the blip is that when Thanos snaps, or is the blip when Hulk snaps?
No, the blip is the 5-year period where everyone was gone. So it's like both. It's the beginning is Thanos and the end is Hulk.
Oh,
and that 5-year period is the blip. It's like a blip on the radar.
That makes more sense, and I hate it less now. No, because I thought like the blip was referring to like one of the two snaps. Okay, I don't hate the blip anymore. Thank you. Like I never like put that in my head. Like you said earlier, I'm kind of an idiot, so I'm very dense sometimes.
Hey, I'm here all week.
Nice. But no. So obviously after the blip, which I can legally say now, it's she kind of has like this shocking realization that she's been gone for 5 years, and I think 2 years before she came back, or 3 years. They find out that she finds out that her mother ended up dying while she was gone, which
I liked the scene of everybody coming back. That was fun.
Yeah, I like it because it was like basically what I had in my head of like, well, what happened when all these people came back? Because obviously we don't see it in Endgame. We see like all the people like come through the Doctor Strange portals, but we don't see, or even really is it referenced in Far From Home, like what happened when everyone came back. Like obviously we have like small little things like, oh, like our classmate is 5 years older than us now, and like some stuff like that. But then we obviously don't get, this is the first time we've ever seen like a firsthand what was happening at that exact second. So
it's also the first time it's been treated seriously, because in Far From Home everything's sort of a joke.
Right, yeah, they have like the band playing, and then like the other half of the band shows up.
Yeah, and like the not main antagonist, the secondary antagonist who's trying to steal MJ from Peter is grown up, was one of the younger classmates, but he's here now.
Yeah, well,
And,
now he's hot. Oh no! Damn it!
But this is the first time, like, you're dealing with some pretty sad subject matter, with like her mom dying while she was gone, so her mom doesn't know that what happened to her daughter, and she comes back thinking that her mother was cured, but the cancer came back. So
yeah,
it really makes Monica more relatable. And
Yeah, it's a cool little like tragic twist of fate, you know.
yeah,
yeah.
and it also connects everything to the MCU, which is kind of the point. But it's nice.
Yeah, no, so it worked really well, and then obviously a few weeks later, which is like a very short amount of time, because I think the show's, it's like, isn't it 3 weeks later, or like a month later, that, like,
I don't know.
she gets sent off to the stuff? Anyways, it's like a very short amount of time that she goes from being not in existence back to existence, finding out her mother died. It's like a very short amount of time, and like, I don't know. Obviously, one of the big themes of this show is like, you know, like moving on from grief and everything, and like, you know, a lot of that like mental health issues and everything. And it's very interesting. Yeah, moving on healthily, and it's very interesting to see that like Monica kind of gets to do that. Like, she obviously loses, like, you know, everyone's very close with their mother, so like she loses that important person in her life, and you can see that like she's like well adjusted, and like she's been able to move on, and like is returning to work and everything, and like obviously that's kind of, you know, kind of the cycle of like a like adjusted person and everything, and which is obviously, we find out later, will be contrasted with Wanda, but we'll get to that. Anyways, she shows up to help out everyone's favorite person who is in everything, Jimmy Woo, who does his cool card trick that you know,
Oh yeah,
the whole
references to Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, which is something that never happens.
I have not seen Ant-Man because I like Hank Pym, and I think Scott Lang is just
Oof.
a character. He's funny. That's it. There's no other substance.
Yeah,
Rant
but
over.
yeah, but see, the thing, I love Paul Rudd. Love Paul Rudd.
But
So
I want my Ant-Man to beat his wife.
yeah, see, I don't want
And
Hank Pym.
it's so hard.
He slapped Wasp, and that's not cool, man.
I didn't get the Ant-Man reference at first. I had to be told later by somebody. So, but it's cool. It's cool.
You know,
I hadn't
so
seen it because I have no interest in Scott Lang as a
You mentioned
character.
that Monica's mom is like the creator of Sword,
Mhm.
and she was like Captain Marvel's best friend or whatever, something like that.
Other thing, I do not give a shit about the Kree or the Skrull, so I have no idea what's going on here.
oh yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have never cared about them.
No.
Yeah, I couldn't finish Captain Marvel, so I
I hadn't even seen it, and even like, I don't read the comic books. I've played a lot of and watched a lot of the material outside the MCU, like Earth's Mightiest Heroes or Ultimate Alliance, which
Yeah,
is probably like
I love the like the Marvel like universe, but I don't care about the Kree or the Skrull. Like, I don't care.
you know. I remember Ultimate Alliance, that section where you're talking with the Empress or whatever, and like you're talking, and like you have to go defeat Galactus and save the Skrull, but they're also fighting the Kree. That is my least favorite section of the game. I do not give a shit about anything that is happening at that point.
I don't really care about the scroll. Yeah.
You know, I don't care about it here either.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, she meets internet's darling Jimmy Woo with because he's on like
AKA Asian Jim.
no, that's not that's just Jim. It's Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you fool. It's identity theft isn't a joke. But no, he's there to do. Obviously, he was there for like a more, you know, routine thing, because he's just a regular FBI agent, and he's there for like a missing persons case in Westview. But obviously, he cannot get there because there is a giant hexagonal like field surrounding everything. Which
At first, it's just like completely see through. You can like see the town behind the fence, the sign, and everything.
mm-hmm.
And the cops are just kind of standing there at the edge, like, there's no place called Westview. Like, oh, where are you from? Eastview.
But no, so
Hayward is a dick.
yeah, that's his
Lou, I
entire.
don't really care about.
That's his entire character. Yeah,
Yes.
He's a good foil to Monica.
yeah. He works
he
very
serves his
effectively.
purpose.
Yeah.
Like when he's a dictator, you feel that. You're
Yeah,
like, "Ooh, I don't like
it
that
also
guy."
helps.
Yeah.
He has like a very punchable face.
He does.
Yeah.
He exists for you to hate him.
Like he just looks like a smug boss that everybody's had in their life at some
Very
point.
talented actor. Yeah.
Yeah, he made everybody hate him. But no, so obviously, Monica
But
gets.
I like getting one broke girl.
Yeah, no, Darcy Lewis from Thor, who nobody likes in Thor, but then everybody likes in this.
I
I liked her in Thor.
confession. I have always liked Darcy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I liked
Oh no,
her in Thor.
I thought she was fine in Thor, but it's just I think a lot of people like, don't. Like, I've seen a lot of people like just that don't like her, and
Oh, me too. And like a lot of people don't like Thor in general.
yeah, well, and I think the problem is like a lot of people I think don't really like Kat Dennings.
I don't have a problem with her.
Is a thing like yeah, I think she's like a fine actress and everything, and I think it's just like she just kind of I think to a lot of people would really exemplify that kind of like MCU overly sarcastic, quippy kind of nature.
Nah, she's just the right amount of quippy for me.
And I think it's also because she tends to, as far as what I've seen from like her acting, play very similar characters. Like she's kind of typecast as like a sarcastic, quippy kind of character.
Yeah.
But no, I really liked her.
I ever saw her in it's like Big Mama's House 2, and she's basically the same character.
I don't know what that is.
Me neither.
Don't know what Big Mama's
over our
House.
heads this entire episode.
Yeah, I've never seen one of those films.
You get to be on the bottom because you don't know what a stork is, Cade.
Oof, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. I do not know what a stork is. I know what they look like now, but anyways, no. And
Bird.
anyways, she's obviously studying the phenomenon, and she finds out about like all like the signals that are coming from it, and I always thought that was kind of weird that like these signals are being given off for like the sitcom WandaVision, so it's kind of a show within a show in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I never got why though. Like
It's like I don't know. She's generating a TV signal basically.
It's them giving them a sort of in-universe reason for why
Well,
everything is the way it is.
yeah,
It
like
looks the way it is,
I
as
get
opposed to just being a self-contained
Actually-
little story where they're all in 50s garb and everything.
Yeah, like it's an actual like TV show that she's like making and like broadcasting.
yeah, and I guess obviously like we're gonna get like into why it's a sitcom, but so they're able to like get like they can observe everything, and they find out that like all the residents that are like there are all like real people.
Yeah, because they start identifying them in the show, and they're like, "Holy crap,
Yeah.
these are all the missing people in the town."
Yeah, and I think that worked really well, like, because then it kind of like leads into the whole, like, you kind of see that, and then at the end you realize, like, that's what happened.
Yeah, and I just like this whole sequence in general, like this little episode, because it's it explains everything that happens, and just shows it, but it's very it's very MCU. It feels very like that, like
It's
that
another-
four-part MCU where they're like like figuring stuff out and all that.
It's the tether that puts everything back into context of the MCU. It's like, hey, we're still an MCU television show.
Yeah.
Here's your...
I guess Sword is like the new Shield. That's a nice little pun there.
Their space shield.
Yeah.
Okay. Shield plus space.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
It's less like self-contained Earth things and more like, hey, we gotta deal with the scroll, and hey, we gotta deal with all the space bullshit you don't care about.
Interesting.
But yeah, no.
Not really.
So yeah, so then we find out that like it was them who were like talking to Wanda through like the radio and everything. And then we get to see like what happened inside of the house, when Monica mentions Ultron, she gets like thrown through everything, and then she patches everything back up, and then we get the nice scene where Wanda gets to see Vision when he's dead.
Oh yeah, they just go.
Oh yeah, she kind of like has like a little. I'm not sure if that's her actually doing that. If she's like actually changing his appearance just by her, like her will, you know.
Well, I thought it was like he appears as that like in like the show in like the Hex or whatever, but it's because like she was probably like I always thought like that's like she thought of that for a second because Monica mentions like the real world, and then I think for a second like Wanda remembers, oh shit, Vision's dead, and then sees dead Vision, which
even though like it's not like her like because at the time you're kind of thinking like like oh her powers like slipped for a second and like you can see it's just dead Vision that she revived or whatever, but really because later on we figure out like she has the power to like change like the cells of objects or whatever, like basically like like her mind just like creates and changes matter, like she's actually changing his appearance just by in her head.
Still in the state of denial.
Yep, exactly, and I think that's a really good thing to mention. That she's obviously in denial that Vision's dead.
Yeah, the dream is kind of she's slowly coming out of the dream, and she's like realizing what she's doing and what's happening.
Yeah. So then we get to skip forward to probably I think my least favorite episode.
80s episode.
The 80s episode.
But not the cool.
My favorite episode.
But yeah, no. She gets obviously right at the start of the episode. They're trying to. Oh, and it also has my least favorite like theme song.
Same, yeah.
Tristan, thoughts on the
WandaVision?
Yeah, I did not like it.
Probably my favorite too.
Yeah. Anyways, so they're trying to get the kids to cry, and then or to stop crying, not to cry. My mistake. You do not want to make children cry. Well, some people do, but they're bad people. Anyways, Agnes offers to like help look after him, and you get some nice like 80s like hijinks, like oh she's got a drink. It's not for the kids. Don't worry. And she's talking up like her hubby or whatever, and. But Vision kind of like questions her and everything, and then we get the point where everything's interrupted because Billy and Tommy decide to at that point be 5 years old.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they start like rapidly growing.
Yeah.
As rapidly as they grew in her stomach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then a dog shows up, and they get to do the whole like, oh, let's hide it, and then obviously Wanda finds it and everything, and then. They're like, oh, can we please keep the... It's been in every single sitcom ever. Like, this is probably, like, one of the biggest sitcom tropes of, oh, the kids find a puppy. Can we keep the puppy?
And they kill it off.
Yeah.
Breaking that trope immediately.
Yeah, and then, they shows up, and then Agnes decides to name it Sparky. And then, like, we kind of go there, and then... Wanda's starting to be a little bit more like flippant about her abilities, which freaks out Vision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she does actually.
Yeah, and because she's kind of like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, Vision. This is the point where Vision and Wanda are starting to divide a little bit.
Yeah, because he finds out. He finds out what really happens because he's at his new computer place, which I do like the 80s version of his computer place and like the the 80s computers.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that weird part where like he somehow gets access to like the messages that are being sent by Sword, and then everybody in the place just starts reading, like saying it out loud, and it's really creepy.
Yeah.
Is this the point where he also
he finds out
thing to his coworker?
Yeah, and then finds out that Wanda is like controlling everyone.
And
that was kind of a
pain.
I really liked that, and then Vision just like pokes him in the head again to set him back to normal.
Yeah, that was kind of like a little horrific. He's like all panicky, like, "Where's my phone?" And like, the audience, you realize like, oh, his phone probably got turned into like like a coffee machine or something.
Yeah, what happened to everyone's like cell phones when that happened? Like,
they turned into pigeons.
They turned into storks.
No,
It got turned into like a cheap like 80s cell phone.
See, I would have loved that, and it would have been like a little like a little too slapstick for like the whole thing. But if he's oh, where's my phone? And he pulls out like the giant like brick phone.
That would have cut the horror of the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah.
Or what they could have done, have him like, oh, he's all panicked, like, oh, where's my phone? He gets set back to like Westview resident mode, and then he finds his phone. I don't know. They should have had a big brick cell phone. That's all I'm saying.
he should have had the phone with the Chinese drywall in his pocket.
Yes.
Cat, let go of my shirt.
But no, we kind of get that, and then we end up having Sword. They kind of like have their stuff, and they decide to send a drone into there, which causes, Sparky runs off. He's scared by the drone, and the kids go chasing after him and everything.
Yeah, and then Wanda gets like super pissed at the drone and everyone.
Yeah, well, she kind of goes. She leaves like the barrier to like tell Hayward like fuck off.
Yes.
Yeah, and then she just goes back in.
Oh, and
Yeah,
she
that's what
she like jinxes all his dudes to like.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. I like that.
It was very nice. It shows you how intimidating Wanda could be too, because she's sort of in the gray area because she's causing so much pain to these people.
Yeah, no, you don't know that yet.
Well,
Only a little bit
later we find
later,
out, but
yeah. But then we cut to the worst part of the thing. Oh, Sparky's dead.
Oh no, the dog that was here for an episode.
Yeah.
now you're like 5-hour-old kids have to deal with death.
Yeah.
And handle it strangely better than Wanda.
Yeah, these 10-year-olds handle the death of their dog better than Wanda handles literally anything in her entire life.
They kind of it kind of shows how Wanda's like flippant magic use and stuff kind of affects her children, because they're like, bring it back, Mom, you can do anything, bring him back. And then and I like this part where like Vision just kind of walks in, bring who back, and very very obviously meaning him.
Yeah, and then obviously like this like argument between Vision and Wanda, that's like it's the high point of this episode. And as much as I didn't like this overall episode, like this, I would say like the last 5 minutes of this episode were like probably some of the best of the show. It's just overall this episode I didn't really vibe with.
This is one of the best character interactions in the MCU.
Yeah, no, it definitely helps that like Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are just like tremendously good actors, and they work very well together. And I will say the one thing, and I'm going to mention it now, so I don't have to mention it later. Whenever they do the thing where these two characters fly, I hate the pose that they take. It is.
I do too.
Thank you. Yes, finally. Like it took me out of it because
I didn't notice it, but now that you've pointed it out, I can't unsee it.
Yes, perfect. I will get everyone to hate that because like it's such like a serious two like spouses like arguing with each other, and then they start to levitate by like striking. And again, the thing is, like, yes, they are superheroes. It's based off like comic characters, and yeah, that pose works well in a comic where everything is still. But when you have that translated to live action, it doesn't work.
I guess since it's still like the 80s TV show, it's supposed to be kind of cheesy.
Yeah, but then they do it again later. Like that's how Wanda flies later.
Oh yeah, no, it's also supposed to be like really tense, and it doesn't ruin it for me. I just thought it was kind of weird.
Oh no,
but
yeah, it does not ruin it for me by any means. It's just like it pulls me out of it for like a split second. Don't lie to me, Wanda. But he's like striking like a dance pose.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it was a little goofy looking.
Yeah.
It is one of the best. In terms of tension, it's like up there with Iron Man finding out that Bucky killed his parents.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it kind of reminded me, I don't know why, but like when just like it reminded me like when Ego was talking about killing Peter's mom I don't know why it reminded me of that scene. It could have just been like it's like a more quiet scene between like two.
Now, I know that sounds bad.
It's
what?
It's one of the quieter scenes too, and I have kind of like a mixed relationship with the MCU, but these moments really shine where the characters are really genuine and nothing's really broken by any sort of bathos, where they treat the scene seriously.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I should have said earlier, but Matt Shakman, the director for these, like he does such a good job with it and letting like these moments like kind of sit. Like, you know, there could have been like, you know, there are probably tons of directors who would have been like, oh, we got to put like some tense music in the back of this, you know, where they're arguing. And it's like, I like that it's like a quiet like argument between like spouses, because it's also like a very kind of real thing. Like everyone's seen like, you know, two people argue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like as the argument starts, they're like in the middle of the credits, and like the credit song is playing.
Oh, that was awesome.
And
it was
walk
like
into the next room, and then like the credits cut out, and it gets like super quiet.
Yeah, no, that worked.
Really nice contrast.
Yeah, but then of course this super awesome tense scene is interrupted when some guy from some movie that I haven't seen shows up.
Some bum shows up at their door and is like, "Hey."
You weren't on the like super ultra mega hype train reaction.
Oh, I knew who it was, so I was like, "Whoa!" But it like took me a second because I've only ever seen like the clip where he saves like the Xavier Institute. That's about all I've seen of Quicksilver from the X-Meniverse.
Fox films. Yeah.
I don't have a desire to watch them after the thing that is the X-Men movies.
First Class and Days of Future Past are good.
Whatever you say.
Yeah, I just recently watched those together as like a little duology.
Yeah, but anyways, Pietro shows up, and then I kind of like the obviously outside of the Hex where Darcy is like, whoa, they recast Pietro.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, it's like a nice little like fourth wall breaking thing without being like overly like in your face. Like they could have easily done like a Deadpool moment where like, you know, Pietro like looks into the camera and be like, "Ooh, were you expecting someone else? Waka waka."
You know, it works because they are watching it. So
yeah, exactly. So it's like, whoa.
I like the aspect of what's Kat Dennings' character's name?
Darcy.
Oh yeah, Darcy kind of being like a fan of the show.
Yeah, she says somebody's her favorite character, right?
Yeah.
God, who was it? Was it Rambo? Or Vision?
I don't remember. Probably Vision. Vision's everyone's favorite character.
He's mine.
Oh, can I just say the Vision's makeup throughout the whole show is really good. I'd say it's just as good as like in Age of Ultron or any other movies, even though it's like just like a TV show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think Vision would probably be like one of the besides like some of the effects. I think he's like one of the only like kind of like high cost things, really. And obviously, I don't know how expensive that makeup is, so.
Probably not that expensive, but they do a good job.
Yeah, it is cool that they like made sure. Yeah, and Vision has a cape, which is dope. So.
Yeah, they don't like they don't skimp out on the effects for his like little, like how his cape kind of like turns into a hologram or disintegrates or whatever sometimes and stuff.
Yeah. I know, it all works really well. And then with the fact that Pietro shows up, we go into the and this is like a little thing. People say this is a 90s episode. It's not, because it's like a Malcolm in the Middle parody. Malcolm in the Middle didn't start till like the early 2000s, so stop saying it's a 90s episode.
I want it to be a 90s episode.
No, wrong. You don't. The 90s were awful.
But my 90s... And really, it's only like a Malcolm in the Middle parody at the beginning of the episode, and then they kind of drop it.
Yeah, but still, like, no one's really dressed like as like the 90s.
Yeah, they're just in like pretty much regular Halloween costumes, yeah.
Yeah, so everyone stop saying it's the 90s.
Cars. They have 90s cars and stuff around.
Yeah, but there are still 90s cars on the road. It's not the 90s, damn it.
No. So what, we just get one episode that's like an early 2000s parody and the other one's a late 2000s parody? Lame.
It's like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I'll take that compromise. Yeah,
But yeah, no.
this one is my favorite theme song. And opening theme, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we kind of get, Wanda wants to spend, she wants everyone to be together, like, as a family for their first Halloween, despite the fact that the children age 10 years. And then, obviously, in real life, over 10 years, you would have, several Halloweens together. But no, Vision has to go patrol the streets with the neighborhood watch, and Pietro.
He said.
Yeah. Pietro shows up to basically be like, "Oh yeah, I'll take my nephew's trick or treating," and then they basically just do like goofy hijinks because he can go super fast, and Tommy, I think it is, can go super fast as well.
Not until later.
Yeah, he can go super fast in this episode.
Yeah, no, but like not until later on in this episode.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so Vision basically goes on an exploration like further away, and then he finds like people just like they're basically just like frozen in place.
Yeah, I like that part. It's very, very eerie, kind of spooky. They're playing like the spooky Halloween music, and like the people are just kind of like broken like simulation robots.
Well, I just like it because it's basically like, oh well, what is everyone else like doing like when the sitcom is happening? Like they can't do anything because they aren't supposed to be in the sitcom.
Well, it's more like they're on the very he goes to the very edge of the town, and I think it's supposed to be more like they're so far away they're kind of just like glitching out and stuff.
No, I definitely thought it was. I definitely thought it was like, oh, they're not supposed to be in the show, so, like because Agnes is like she's not dressed up for like Halloween at all, is she?
Yeah, she's dressed like a witch in that scene.
Oh, she is. I don't remember that. That's funny.
It's just hard to see because her hat gets cut off by the top of the car.
Oh.
She has like a witch nose.
Okay. Yeah, but obviously, like, I don't know. I took it as, like, kind of, they're not meant to be, like, showed yet on the sitcom, so that they're not there. But anyways...
I think it's just the boundaries, where she's, like, starting to lose her power.
I guess that could be as well. But then Vision kind of talks to her and snaps her out of everything, and she's like, whoa, you're dead!
Yeah, this scene kind of doesn't make sense with what we learn later.
Right, it's kind of just there to just kind of sort of make you think. It's just like, I guess, like a red herring, I guess.
It kind of steps in the face of what we learn later about Agatha, because she's like a fantastic actress, apparently, where...
He just really likes, role-playing as the other people and stuff.
Like, my entire plan this entire time was to sit in my car and wait for Vision to come so I could be pretending to not be active until he touched me.
I cannot explain why she would be just at the edge of town sitting in her car. She was waiting for Vision? Was she trying to, like, get him to leave or do something?
It feels like they didn't decide that she was a witch until this episode, like the episode after this or whatever. All along, but they came up with that plot twist in that episode.
Well, you get the foreshadowing in this one that she's dressed up like a witch.
Yeah, I think they definitely meant it, and I think like when she does this, like, well, because like we find out in the next episode, like it was Agatha all along. Like I think she was like, and I think they show it as well, like in the little slideshow. I think like she like kind of gives like her little like wink thing to like the camera when like Vision is supposed to be like outside of her car.
Yeah, she's
so
like
she
doing her makeup or something.
Yeah, so she knew what was going on.
It just, I know they intended it from like the start or like whatever point in development it was where they said, all right, we need Agatha Harkness in this. But it feels like what we know about her up until this point and like the situation she's been in and how she's interacted with people, that she's not an outside force or like not another witch. It feels like she's just another victim of this.
Yeah, that scene in particular kind of just feels like just complete misdirection, like it didn't really serve a purpose other than that.
Well, it just doesn't make sense within the context of her being a witch, because I have no idea why she would be pretending to do this out in the borders of the town.
Yeah.
Well, I just took it as like she's, like obviously as we find out, in the next episode, like she's kind of doing it like, to just like figure everything out more or less. Or not to like figure everything out, but to like keep up like the charade for a bit.
Yeah, but she's also with herself, and she's getting touched by Vision for it to work.
No, because I think she just allowed Vision to think that as well.
Yeah.
She know the Vision can do it.
Yeah, let's not dig too deep into the logic of this shit.
It feels weird, okay? It does. Her twist does not. I don't like it.
No, I don't mind it. But anyways, back to it. Yeah, so outside of Westview, Monica and Jimmy are basically told to like GTFO because, you know, Monica, Darcy, and Jimmy. I forgot Darcy. They're basically kicked out because Hayward wants to kill Wanda because, well, it's kind of an okay point of view, you know, when you look at it from what we find out.
The audience thinks that he wants Vision from, you know, the Hex. He wants to get Vision out of the Hex.
Yep. So no, it works really well.
And this is the episode where they first start like jumping back and forth between the WandaVision show and the Sword show.
Yeah, so no, it works really well. But basically, they hack into his computer and they find out that he's been tracking Vision.
Mm-hmm.
And Vision. What's that?
So he has to be the bad guy.
Yeah, he is the bad guy. But then, anyways, Vision gets through the wall, but outside he starts to like disintegrate.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think one of his other kids, so that obviously must be Billy. He like figures this out and he tells his mom, and then she expands the hex, and then Darcy, Vision, and some other Sword agents are all brought in as well. And like you see, like, you know, as it expands out, like some other stuff pops up, and I really liked it. So,
their whole operation gets turned into a circus.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Wanda's little revenge against them, turning them all into clowns.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, no, I really liked that one. So this episode I also really liked. It was probably my second favorite.
I love the costumes in this episode as well.
Yeah, well, and obviously with Vision and Wanda and Pietro, we get references to like their old
original appearance.
Yeah, they're like original characters. Like obviously, Wanda's dressed up in like the bikini that Scarlet Witch wore for decades. Vision looks kind of dumpy, and
I love him. I love his design so much.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's good. Like it's I love the callback to like the comics. It's just
he doesn't
looks
have his like
so derpy.
His like professional Vision makeup. He just has like
it
paint. You know.
Yeah, well, because he's supposed to be looking like he's trying to look like Vision, not you know. And then Pietro has like the I hate Quicksilver's actual like comic book costume so much. I hate it.
I know it's terrible.
It's so bad, but it works so well. Yeah.
I like the talking with Pietro and Wanda. They're kind of getting into the characters, but again, some of this stuff kind of like it's like I guess it's just like more breadcrumbs and mystery box stuff. She's like, "What happened to your accent?" He's like, "What happened to yours?"
Yeah.
Which
I guess
it's brought up several times in this show, and it's just.
I guess Wanda's kind of like Americanizing herself a bit,
Yeah.
She's been doing it for a while, though.
Oh yeah, she did lose her accent like
after Civil War.
Yeah, by Infinity War she had no accent, right?
Yep.
Because Elizabeth Olsen got tired of doing it.
Yeah, her accent was also ridiculously
but now
bad, and cheesy, whatever.
Now we have a whole series explaining why her accent changed. It's amazing.
Yeah, but then so after this we get episode 7, which is a kind of like Modern Family parody with like the speaking. People have said The Office, but obviously they have not seen The Office because The Office takes place in an office. Modern Family takes place like in a suburban setting. So,
but just
documentary style,
documentary shows in general.
Yeah, but it's
Modern Family comes from The Office, so
yeah.
It's much the setting and everything, the interactions. It's much more close to.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my annoying little thing of
certainly the music and everything. Yeah, definitely more Modern Family.
Yeah. So, anyways, with that we get Wanda decides to have just a mom day to herself, which everyone's mom had at some point, and Agnes agrees to babysit her kids, and then kind of same thing where like as she's trying to like relax, like some of her houses are like constantly changing, like parts of her house are changing to like the different eras. And again, I think it's because like she was trying to relax, so like she was taking her mind out of like this concentration, so it's like blipping, kind of.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of it that way.
Blipping, Cade?
Blipping. Now I'm going to use it all the time.
I'm not really sure why it's happening. Maybe it's kind of just to show her, inner conflict. Maybe. I like the part where like she's like pouring the milk into the cereal and like the milk keeps changing, and then she just kind of like, hesitantly starts eating the cereal.
Yeah.
Just like, screw it.
It's like half soy, half whole.
Yeah. So.
I will say, I think this is the funniest episode.
Oh yeah, this definitely has like the best comedy, I would say.
Yeah,
but
I really like the stuff with Vision and Darcy. That was really good.
Yeah, see, it works very well for me because I love Modern Family. So.
Oh, I do too. My favorite scene of this episode, aside from like actual character drama, is Vision and Darcy in the scene where they're stuck at the red light, and Vision's just like, "What am I doing here?" And it just flies out of it.
But yeah, so speaking of Vision, he
would have to go to the scene where Vision's like, we met. We had there was an unspoken connection, and then Darcy's like, hard pass.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, no, it was great. But yeah, no. Speaking of Vision, he wakes up, and yeah, now all of the sword agents are clowns
and circus people.
They're carnies because they're chumps and everything. So he ends up like, they have like a little like fun little interaction where Darcy's like supposed to be like an escape artist.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to go along with that, but he pokes her in the head and gets her out from the spell. And yeah, but she basically spills the beans, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're dead," which he hears for the second time, and basically explains everything.
Yeah, catches him up on everything. Does the old Marvel catch up?
Yeah, which I will say, for some people, I have literally seen posts about this who have just started like the MCU with WandaVision. Why?
Oh God!
So I guess this is meant for those people who are like, "Oh yeah, I better skip a decade's worth of stuff and just jump right into this TV show."
The show, it really does just touch on stuff that's not even hinted at in the movies. So I guess that's I'm sure it would be fine as just like a standalone watch.
Yeah. So then we kind of go on, and outside of Westview, they meet with some sword people who conveniently have a vehicle that's designed to cross through the barrier, but it doesn't work, and Monica decides to just like go through it, and she goes through and she has powers now.
Yeah, something happens to her and stuff. It was a pretty cool sequence walking through there. It's all over dramatic, and like she's hearing all these voices. You can do this, and whatever, and like powers.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool.
I don't know. I'm sure there's some reason why she has them, but I don't know it.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about Monica Rambeau.
New Captain Marvel, something.
I have no idea who she is.
I don't know.
Yeah, no. So
there's some reason for it.
I could not tell you if she is like a character specifically made for like the MCU. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh no, she's probably
Monica Rambeau she is Captain Marvel in the comics at some point.
Oh really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, so Skrull Kree thing, gross, go away. No, I'm just joking. But no, she goes in and then she gets her powers and then tries to confront Wanda, and again, like this interaction again, it's like kind of the Vision one from the from one of the previous episodes where it's a very good like character interaction.
Oh yeah, really good writing, just the way it makes sense the way, Monica's character would, care about Wanda and try and help her. Like it makes sense.
Yeah, and then we kind of get Agnes kind of shows up and says, "Oh, go away, or I don't think they call her Monica, but then she's like, "Oh, go away, like we don't want you here. Don't talk to me or my son ever again." So then brings her back, brings Wanda back to her house, and then she looks for her boys, because she can't find them, and goes in the basement, and whoa, there's
Agatha's a witch.
there's
Holy
a witch.
witch miss.
And then yeah,
It's not Mephisto. It's Agatha Harkness.
who nobody knows who that is. Like 5 people knew who Agatha Harkness. I didn't know who that was.
It's I can't believe it's not Mephisto.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Agatha Harkness. After like, that episode, I looked her up, and apparently she is, for people who knew who that was, but like apparently she is the person who taught Wanda in the comics how to be do her magic stuff. So
I don't think she's even a villain in the comic books.
No, I think she's kind of she's like probably in like 5 things. So, but no, in the comic books, from what I read on just a cursory Wikipedia glance, she's way cooler in the comics because she has a cat. So,
I agree. A black cat, no less.
Yeah, it'd be cooler if it was an orange cat.
But it's taboo and Salem and bad luck.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Salem, and also Agatha, she killed Sparky.
Oh yeah.
It was Agatha all along, and she killed Sparky. And then she finds out, or she explains that she sent a imposter Pietro, which I'm sure got a lot of Quicksilver from the X-Meniverse mad fans, because that's not it was an imposter. And and I think we should touch on it again later, but speaking of Salem, we get to a little flashback right at the start of the 8th episode, and some witches are going to kill Agatha because she's practicing forbidden magic, and then she drains all their life forces. And then basically...
the effects are really nice.
Yeah, no,
the skeleton effects.
Yeah. And then we get back to the present. Agatha is like, how are you doing all this stuff? Let's do a clip show kind of thing.
A flashback episode.
Well, it reminds... Okay, so I've been watching, just as a side note, I've been watching The Simpsons from the start. I started a couple months ago. And The Simpsons would do episodes like these where they would literally just do flashback episodes where
Yeah.
Homie, do you remember that time we did the thing? And then they literally just show it, and this it basically reminded me of this, which again it works because it's kind of like a sitcom thing, and I know other sitcoms have done those as well. They'll do a flashback episode or something. So it kind of sits with the sitcom.
When there are clips you haven't seen,
Oh yeah, as well. Because obviously we get her as a child, her coping mechanism for the war right outside of her family's living room that apparently they just don't care about. Or
there's always a coup happening outside.
Yeah, I remember last week I was trying to watch my sitcoms, and there was a war going on outside. So
I just shut the curtains. And,
yep, those are some super good soundproofing curtains. I need to get some of those.
Detroit.
But no, so we get that where we find out where her parents died, which confirms that Magneto's not her father. So again, a lot of people were kind of banking on that this show would introduce Magneto, but nope.
Also, I really like the explanation of why she did this whole thing with the sitcoms and everything. She has, that was the last time she felt happy with her family.
Well, and as we'll see, because then we jump forward, the next one, was it her in the Hydra lab or whatever, before she exposes to the Mind Stone?
One of the flashbacks is her getting exposed to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's one that happens before, and she's in kind of a little cell or a little room, and the entire time, basically, her coping mechanism for all this trauma that's happened in her life has been sitcoms.
Oh, that's right. She's watching TV or something.
Yeah, she's literally just watching sitcoms that have taken place. And I think that was a really cool way, because it shows that, well, why is everything a sitcom? Because they, that was her coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's giving more reason to exist within the universe, which I really like.
Yep. And then we get, she gets exposed to the Mind Stone, which then just increases her powers, because now that, they have the rights to the X-Men stuff, now they can say that, it wasn't the Mind Stone all along. So she had always had these powers.
They don't think she's a mutant. like Agnes kind of just says, "Oh, you're doing magic. This isn't like."
Yeah.
Even though there's like a scientific explanation for it that we can see from like the sword side of thing, but Agnes says it's magic.
Yeah, so we ended up getting, from there, we get the flashback of when she goes to find Vision's body, which we get the entirety of because
Yes.
she breaks in like we see earlier in the show, but then she leaves Vision's body.
Yeah, because she breaks in and sees that, oh, he's just spare parts now.
Yeah, but then from there, she drives to the lot in Westview that Vision had bought so that they could live there together, and then she basically just creates this little universe. And
Like an emotional collapse.
yeah, she has like an emotional collapse. She finally like lets out like the grief, and the way she like deals with this grief is a very unhealthy way. And she creates a pocket dimension where her and her fake husband can live together.
It makes an entirely new fake Vision out of her mind.
Yep, and then
And in the little sequence, we see like he's almost being formed by like this yellow energy like coming out of her head, almost like the Mind Stone energy.
yeah, no, it was
Yeah,
really cool.
Wanda creates an Infinity Stone.
The fake version of it?
I mean, he contends equally with the real Vision.
I mean, yeah. Do we see him do like the Mind Stone, laser zerp thing?
I think they both laser each other and like
Yeah,
it's
they have like a
cell.
beam struggle.
Yeah, I guess she's so powerful she can recreate the effects of the Mind Stone. Who cares?
Yeah, it's whatever.
Look out,
Don't.
it's another flashback sequence.
Yeah, but anyways, no, from here we get, and I really like this last thing where, Agatha is like, oh, you use chaos magic, and once every bajillion years there's a Scarlet Witch. Dun dun dun.
Oh, that's why.
Right, we can say it.
We can say it. We bought the rights. We can say it, guys. Scarlet Witch, Scarlet Witch, Scarlet Witch. Well, no, because also it's kind of funny because earlier in the series, and I thought it was just like one of those little Marvel jokes. It's like, oh, Wanda Maximoff doesn't have like a nickname or anything, like no weird name, and everyone's just like, no.
Oh yeah.
And then I thought that was just going to be the joke because it's like, oh, they never call her Scarlet Witch in the show or in the movies, excuse me. And then now, now she's Scarlet Witch. But then we also get a mid-credit scene where Hayward, he turns on the Vision, and I like how he always calls Vision the Vision.
Yeah, kind of like dehumanizing him.
Yeah, exactly, because like that's what he's saying. He's like, oh, Vision is just vibranium and spare parts, whatever. He's the Vision, the Vision, the Vision, and it makes you hate him because everyone calls him Vision, like it's his name. But yeah, we get
conscious little itty bitty detail that really goes a long way.
it does. Well, because obviously, like his comic series was called The Vision, so
Yeah, I guess also a reference to that.
yeah. So then we get we get that, and then it's evil. It's kind of. I didn't know that there was like the all white Vision apparently is also in the comics. I didn't know that. But yeah, no, I really it's kind of funny because like in all the old westerns, like the bad guy always wore black. Well, in this, the bad guy, the Vision, he's all white. So that's kind of I just found that kind of funny.
Oh yeah.
Just like a
What
dumb
about
little.
the other flashbacks, like Wanda getting like touched by the Mind Stone.
Oh yeah, they all happen.
She's like the only one who's like successful, like everybody else. Got
Yeah,
killed
because
by it.
she already had like the magic is why she was able to like survive basically.
She can make one herself.
Yeah.
The flashback to her and Vision at like the Avengers headquarters and her like watching like TV.
Yeah, because like the whole way through, like as all this stuff is happening, because obviously, and when she's in the Avengers mansion, that's after her brother died. So again, she's coping by watching these sitcoms. They're her coping mechanism. They're like her safety blanket, basically.
I like how she explains to Vision humor.
Yeah, no, it was really, really cute little scene. But moving on to the episode 9 finale. Basically, we have Agatha trying to take Wanda's magic from her, as we've like seen, and it's kind of like a cheesy effect that they did to show that like her power's being drained, but like Wanda's hands like turn, like they got all like charred.
Yeah, that's fine with it.
She started to degenerate like all the other witches did.
Yeah, it's a cheesy effect when that happens. I don't know. That's just me. Nitpick from me.
I like that this episode was like an hour long. You know, the nice finale.
Yeah. Well, because it gives because I honestly like we're gonna probably pretty easily be able to just breeze through this episode because the Vision shows up and then Vision shows up and they have a cool fight. Their fight I think was just awesome. Like
I really enjoyed it.
Just the way it worked, and then they fight while Agatha like frees all the residents of Westview from like Wanda's mind control, and it's so depressing because they're like, please, like I think one of the women is like I never get to see my daughter or something, like she's just always up in her room or something like that, and it's like wow, because then you get like Wanda in her grief has like affected an entire town's worth of people.
Yep.
She's been torturing in a town.
Yeah,
like transferred all her grief onto them.
Yeah, and because like they're like, oh, when you're asleep, like we have your nightmares. Like this is not cool. Please just like let us out. And then I think one of them is like, I would rather be dead than like continue to experience this.
Yeah, if you're not gonna let us leave, then just please kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wanda's reaction is really telling because she's like all freaked out and in denial, like, no, you guys are happy. Everything, everyone's happy here.
Yeah, and again, like, whoa, psychology reference. That's one of the stages of grief. Denial. Whoa.
Yeah. Everybody's happy on the outside, but they're being eaten alive on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. But no, then she starts to open the barrier, but then
everybody runs for it. It's fun.
Everyone runs for it, and apparently they're able to like escape. Well,
they don't show it.
Yeah, they don't show it, but she stops because
I thought it'd be awesome if they were like all like escaping, and then like they just barely get to the edge when Wanda closes it back up again.
I thought that's what they were gonna do because I was like, "There's no way that like they're gonna like," because obviously, like I knew when she started opening it, I'm like, "Oh well, like her family is not gonna work because like they're in this universe and she's getting rid of it." So that's why she stops because her kids and Vision start to like disintegrate, but then Hayward and Sword are also able to enter. And then
really good character dilemma right there, her having to like choose between being like a hero or saving her own family,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the thing that happened with the dog earlier, where they're like, you can't bring him back, people, you just need to move on and learn to grow up, but you can't resolve situations simply by growing up.
Yeah.
You have to do it yourself. And she's kind of proving herself to be a hypocrite here, like she was earlier.
Yep, and it all works really well, and then we get everyone's favorite scene where Ralph Boner is revealed. The boner reveal. It's
like they knew. It's like they knew.
And WandaVision single-handedly pisses off the entire comic book community.
And I've seen so many people like, oh my god, they just did it for like the dick joke. It's like they never like I don't know, like and it's again like I mentioned earlier, like people built up like. They pulled their own fucking Westview and they were building up their own like reality of like, oh my god, like this is what's gonna happen, and then they went too far with it, and then when what they wanted didn't happen, they kind of like I've seen some people like online like they're throwing like little pissy fits.
Yeah. Some people were kind of just like completely, disavowing the entire show because of like stuff at the end. Like the whole show wasn't quality,
Like Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen have been talking about like cameos and characters entering in and being like all excited about this sort of thing. But I think if you're all watching WandaVision for those reasons, you are watching it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're watching it to like be like, oh, my stupid John Krasinski, Reed Richards fan casting is going to finally happen. No, shut up. Jim from The Office isn't Mr. Fantastic. Stop it.
I don't blame people for being pissed with how the cast has hyped things up. I don't think the cast should have said anything about it. Because Elizabeth Olsen, for example, talks about one of the cameos being on par with Mandalorian spoilers 3, 2, 1, cameo being on par with Luke Skywalker. And that really doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Evan Peters doing that, like, yeah, kind of.
Closest
maybe like
thing
10% of that energy.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the tangent, No, I don't want to talk about Luke. I don't want to talk about Last Jedi. Happy thoughts.
Yeah, let's just keep going on with WandaVision because then we get a nice little scene where like Keith, you had made a really good point about it. The Avengers or the Incredibles thing.
Oh yeah, we get that like that kind of like Incredibles sort of scene where like the camera like zooms in on the whole family and they all like strike a pose. It's exactly like the Incredibles.
Yeah, and it's like a really cool thing. And then the kids like they basically stop Sword from. Well, they basically just take their guns.
Boys handle the military.
Yeah, I love when he said that. Just
military.
The way he says that. Boys handle the military, and yeah, no, it was awesome. And then, I will say, like, and this is just my thing. Again, little nitpick. The voice of the child actors that play the Billy and Tommy, they were just grating on my ears. Like, I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying anything. It's just their voices. It's just a thing. I don't really like kids, so their voices were just like nails on a chalkboard to me. Anyways, yeah,
like, I will always point out annoying or bad child actors, but these were not.
Yeah, they were good child actors, really good for child actors. It's just their voices were generic kid voices, and it was grating on my ears because I've worked in.
Children have generic kid voices.
Yeah, it's terrible. But no, I'll just skip past the kids because the scene where the two visions like have their like conversation was just amazing.
Oh, yes, the ship of theses. Yes.
And you kind of get like that little trope of like, oh, I'll defeat this mechanized enemy by pointing out the logic error.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Some people were saying like it was kind of like, oh, it was just a simple philosophy thing, you know, the ship of Theseus. But I thought it was.
Yeah,
cool.
no, I thought it worked really well because like Vision makes a good point to the Vision that like. It's all really good. It works really well. Like, it's just I really liked it. Like, and then
I prefer this.
Yeah, I really like that they were able to like resolve that conflict without using like violence.
Sorry, what did you say, Ben?
Oh, I was gonna say, and then he just like flies off into the next movie or whenever he can show up.
I actually don't understand why he did this. Like, he has all the Vision's memories now, so like
because he has. I took it like I think they say it, and it's just like I think he just has to process it.
I'm sure they'll reunite him and Wanda.
Yeah, because he had this huge info dump on him, but I think they mention it like he has all the memories, but he doesn't have the context.
My theory is that he can't perceive emotion, or like he doesn't have any emotion, so he has like all these memories, but he doesn't have like the emotion to go with them. So that
maybe it's part of him like missing the Mind Stone and that like part of his brain or whatever, and they had to like recreate it with technology, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then going forward from that, we have another really cool scene where it looks like Wanda has given up, but basically in one of the previous episodes, we have the explanation that a witch can't use her magic if another witch has placed runes in an area. And the entire time, like, Agatha and Wanda are flying around having their magical battle, Wanda is placing, like, runes all over the hex. And then we get the
firing at her, and it seems like she's missing.
Yeah, and I thought that was, like, really cool. Because I thought straight up, like, oh, like, I didn't know, like, how is Wanda going to win? And then they have this thing that, because they talked about, like, Agatha had mentioned it, like, oh, like, blah, 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 you don't know how to do anything, blah, 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 like, blah, 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 you haven't learned, yeah. And then, like, oh, this runes thing, like, this is really basic. And then Wanda's like, oh, I'll show you basic. And just, like, Agatha, like, when she realizes this, yeah, when Agatha, realizes this, she has, like, this, like, perfect, like, oh, shit face. And it worked really well. So then,
it was a good setup. It was a good setup. But people were saying like, how could she do that? And like, well, I mean, she could just literally copy the runes, I think.
Well, and because like it's one of those things where she like they say it. She says it like at the one episode where she calls her Scarlet Witch. It's like they're like, oh, she doesn't need a coven or incantation or anything. Like she's just a super powerful magic user who only shows up once every bajillion years or whatever.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. chosen one-ish sort of.
Yeah, but it's
Lose the
Mary Sue-ish, but I'll allow it. I
yeah,
enjoy one.
but she's able to defeat Agatha and traps her as Agnes.
She's not really Mary Sue though because of like how much character trauma she goes through.
Yeah.
She does have to go through some growing pains, especially this whole season.
Yeah, and then from here we basically get like the really long goodbye scenes.
Oh fuck! This fucked me up.
Yeah,
I cried twice during this episode.
yeah, it worked really well. Like she says, she basically like puts her kids to bed for the last time.
I was thinking she was just gonna like shrink it down into the house.
The house, yeah, that's what I thought.
There.
And I was like, oh, she's gonna get the happy ending, but I'll explain why I like it. And then we go on, and then her and Vision get to have their last goodbye and like last little like tender moment as like the hex collapses, and then Wanda just basically like goes away, and then we have
walks down the street, everybody like spits on her.
Rambo says, they'll never know what you sacrifice for them.
Yeah, that was really like just really good because like obviously no one's ever gonna know that like Wanda had to give up her family to like fix everyone, which is again like it's like a really good like character dilemma because this is all she's wanted. She gets it and has to give it up for like the good of everyone else.
Yeah, people call Wanda a villain at this point. Like, how are you calling her a villain when she's like at that point she is the hero of the show. She just saved everybody.
Yeah, but she spent an entire season holding everyone against their will, basically. So I definitely wouldn't say... Well, let's just finish this up, and then we can get into the moral dilemmas. Because she goes into hiding, and then in the mid-credits, Hayward gets arrested, and Monica gets informed by Skrull that her mother wants to meet her, which is very interesting, because...
Her mother's friend or something.
Because then...
Which I think is a reference to Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Her mother's friend wants to meet her, so it's probably going to be Captain Marvel or something. I don't know who it's going to... I don't know.
Sleep. Wanda after credit scene.
Yeah. Anyways, well, obviously the Skrull was Mephisto. You fools. No. But then the post-credit scene, we get Wanda, she's studying what's the book called?
The Dark
I have no idea.
Oh.
The Book of Sins.
Yeah, the evil witchy book.
Yes.
She's studying it in her astral form, which I'm not the stupid one because Keith didn't know that was her astral form.
You really have to bring that up?
I do, because you guys got to make fun of me for not knowing what a stork looked like. So this is my revenge. Cade Strikes Back, episode 5.
Nice.
But no, she is like studying it and like kind of Doctor Strange. Well, because in like one room she's like getting like her like little cabin like fixed up and like I think she's putting like wood in a fireplace.
She's like sipping on a coffee or something.
Yeah, she's sipping on some tea, hanging out in the really pretty mountains. And then her astral form hears her kids like crying out for help. They're like, "Oh no, annoying children noises." Bam,
multiverse.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So yeah, I'm gonna say overall, like we'll wrap this up and we'll talk a little bit more about some just other stuff about it before we wrap it up. But overall, like I said at the beginning, I really really liked it. The series finale, like it wrapped up really well. I hope that this doesn't spin off into like a season 2. I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to be like the one season. It's a mini series, not a series.
Yeah.
But I think it worked really well. Like 9 episodes, it was able to tell over. I don't know. Overall, it's not counting credits. It's probably like 7-8 hours of show. It works really, really well. It's obviously able to flesh out all these characters, and I will say that like they handled Wanda's grief like very well throughout the show because you find out that this entire time she is just creating this in her grief. Like she's not doing it for like a good reason.
Oh yeah, no. Wanda has probably one of the best character arcs in the MCU at this point.
Yeah, it was really good.
Like it's like Iron Man and then her.
Yeah, no, and like her yeah, her arc is like really good, and like obviously like Wanda's whole thing And I would say her defining characteristic is like her grief, because like her grief, you know, it drives her to be a villain at the beginning of Age of Ultron, and then obviously she switches over to being on the Avengers side, and then her brother dies, and her entire life has been filled like just with grief, and then finally she gets something good in her life, and then it gets, you know, it gets its head crushed.
The whole time she's had things taken away by other people, but she actually has to take it away from herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the really big thing, and obviously like
Maybe that'll come into play later, like, you know, like maybe she'll still have, like, maybe that'll be why, because you said she hears her kids screaming at the end or something like that, in like the multiverse thing. So maybe that's what's gonna lead her to the multiverse thing.
We'll see.
Her grief again.
I'm not sure. It's just the one thing that I was disappointed on, and I was hoping to see, but it didn't ruin the show for me because I'm not a child. I can handle when my thoughts don't get put into something I didn't write. I really wish Doctor Strange would have showed up, even if it was like end credit scene, like, because it would make sense, because they've name dropped the Sorcerer Supreme, and this is kind of his deal. Like, you know, I don't know. Like, I wish that when they're talking earlier, I think Darcy's talking about, she's like, oh, I know a guy, or someone says that they know a guy, basically, and I think, no, Jimmy Woo says it. He's like, I know a guy, and then it just turns out to be another FBI agent.
Doesn't Agnes say that Wanda's like the Sorceress Supreme?
No, she says her power eclipses the Sorcerer Supreme. So she's stronger than Doctor Strange. But it doesn't matter. It's just, I think Doctor Strange would have been like the perfect, like, this is the kind of thing Doctor Strange does. He deals with these...
I didn't even expect Doctor Strange.
Yeah, no, like I said, like, it didn't ruin anything for me. It's just like a tiny bit of disappointment. Like, I was like, at the end credit scene of episode 9, I was like, okay, Doctor Strange is going to show up, like, at the very end. Like, when they show Wanda's cabin, I'm like, oh, he's going to show up, and it's going to be kind of like a, like, End of Iron Man, where Nick Fury shows up, and he's going to be like, oh, hey, you fucked up the multiverse, come help me.
Nope.
No, and that's totally fine. Like, obviously, it's going to tie into the Doctor Strange movie somehow, I have a feeling. That's where I think it's going to go.
Confirmed for it, hasn't she?
What's that?
Wanda's been confirmed for Doctor Strange 2, hasn't she?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think she's been confirmed to be in it. So there's her cameo, it's just reversed.
Yeah, let's see here. Well, you can never trust these stupid Google, like, casting things, because... I mean, I can tell you for a certainty that Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be in Doctor Strange 2. Guaranteed. Calling it right now.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Pietro.
But no. No, okay, yeah, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, which is more reliable than the stupid Google, like, casting things. And yeah, it says that they have been confirmed. So yeah, that's cool.
Ooh.
But yeah, no, that was overall, like, I really, really like the show. Really, really like Wanda's grief and, like, mental illness being shown, because, and okay, I will go out on a limb here, because her and Thor have, like, a similar arc of, like, the grief and the loss and everything. And Thor, people say that, oh, it was made into a joke because Fat Thor, haha. It's like, well, yeah, like, the audience is kind of meant to laugh, but it's also just the way that Thor deals with it.
It's gonna ruin the cool Thor we got from Infinity War.
Yeah, but here the thing is, like, it's two. You can take these two characters and they have a similar arc. Thor deals with it one way, in one unhealthy way, and Wanda deals with her grief in a unhealthy way as well.
Yeah, but Thor he just overeats and plays Fortnite.
Yeah, because
I think the only instance where the writing is, like, similar quality is when Thor's talking to his mom, but he goes back in time.
Oh no, I'm not saying that the writing is similar.
Thor
it's just
part of, like, New Master 69.
No, it's just I think like what I'm trying to say is, like, they both have, like, a similar arc, and it's just when you're looking at, like, the issue that they're, like, talking about, like the issue of grief and, like, depression and mental illness, like, those are two ways that two different people could deal with like the depression that comes with all this grief. Like neither of them deal with it in the right way. And I made a joke about this last night, that all Wanda needed, she just needed some CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and that would have just solved it. Get your mind out of it. I know what you're laughing at. It's a real thing, cognitive behavioral therapy. It's like the go-to thing right now in psychology for treating like depression, anxiety, and stuff. So if Wanda would have just sat down with a therapist, I mean, come on, man. Like, are you telling me Tony Stark couldn't get a therapist to the...
Oh no, the Avengers don't have health insurance.
Oh, they don't. But at the end of Civil War, oh no. See, after Civil War, they would have got it from the government, from Shield. But then since Wanda left, she doesn't get the benefits. Sorry, Keith, what were you saying?
Oh, I was saying apparently they don't get paid much either because the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show was kind of hinting at that.
Well, no, I haven't seen it. Silence. I've not seen it. I was busy all day today, and I was not able to watch that, and all I had on my plate was this.
I don't give a shit about either one of those characters, so I'm not watching it.
I will be watching it, but
it was not great.
So yeah, to kind of close it out before we go on a weird rant, I think that this show was really good, did a really good job of tackling like the issue, like the theme of like Wanda's grief, her depression and everything, and how she had to let go of her grief and she couldn't let it define her anymore. I think worked really well. I think it's a very relatable theme. Like, all of us, everyone has suffered, from grief at some point. None of us so far that I know of have created a pocket dimension. That I know of. I could be living in Tristan's pocket dimension right now. I don't know.
If it were my pocket dimension, we would have more Legends content. So...
Oh, that's true.
Not living in one.
I would give the show an 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10. Really good. Definitely something you could not have done in a movie, like a 2-hour movie.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna give it a number. I just know that I really liked it. It's one of my favorite installments in the MCU. I already really like these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the best thing with Wanda and Vision in it,
we've seen so little of them up until this point. So, I've already had an interest in them. Before, they were already some of my favorite characters in the MCU. Now, after they have a show, they're up there, top 5, easily.
Yeah, see, I always liked Vision because Paul Bettany is just such a charming actor that I always liked Vision. And then...
They were kind of like the side characters in the MCU, and we got the arcs from everybody else, and now that the old guard is gone, we're they're allowed to get their their moment.
Yeah, and
about damn time.
Yeah, and I was gonna say also in my thing, I will give it a number rating because I like giving number ratings. I will give it a 70s Vision out of 10. And yeah, I think it's just a really great way for them to set up Phase 4 of the MCU and kind of just jump off from it. And I think this is going to be a bit of a jumping off point. Obviously, Far From Home and its sequel are going to deal more with Spoderman, and obviously Doctor Strange 2 is going to have, I think, a bit more of the bigger ramifications, because obviously what we've seen from the Spider-Man movies is they're a bit more contained down to a smaller group of the cast and everything. So I think Doctor Strange 2 next year is going to be where
excited for that.
We get some more stuff going through. Yeah, I love Doctor Strange. Love Doctor Strange 1, so.
Can't wait for Dormammu 2, Electric Boogaloo.
All right, so did you guys have anything else to add?
Yes, I really love 2 lines of dialogue. It's been memed to death. Not memed, but people have driven it up the wall. But it's grief, but love persevering. That's a really, really nice quote. And the other one where they're saying goodbye, and he says, "We've said goodbye twice before. It stands to reason we'll say hello again."
Oh yeah, that was super nice.
Yeah, I love both of those quotes. Vision has some of the best quotes in the MCU now, and that is all. Thank you. Good night.
I'll just gush about the ending theme sequence again, because it just reminds me of the theme song and opening intro to the Ang Lee Hulk movie.
No.
Ang
Lee Hulk movie didn't happen.
Anyway, I really like the theme song. It's very haunting and cool. Just it was very cool, like listening to that while after watching an episode, you kind of get this mystery and stuff. So yeah, I just generally just really enjoyed the pace of the entire series and just the production, everything about it.
Yeah, no, yeah, it worked really well. I think it was about the perfect length. I'm glad they didn't try and stretch it out into like it has 9 episodes, which is a little weird, but I'm glad they kept it there. I'm glad we didn't get like 15 episodes kind of thing. So no, it worked really well paced. Superb acting from the main 2 people, and overall, yeah. So without anything else to add, this is Cade signing off. Until next time.
This is Tristan signing off, out of order.
And this is Keith signing out.
Ooh.